Welcome to the Unearthed Man podcast, the journey to becoming a conscious man, hosted by Milvo. Hey all, Milvo here, and welcome to episode 23 of the Unearthed Man podcast. Let me start by thanking Coach Phil for jumping on the podcast last week. It was a lot of fun, and if you're looking for someone to help you on your health journey, then give Phil a shout. Guaranteed you'll have some fun along the way. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, then welcome aboard. If you're one of my long-time listeners, then welcome back. I'm really appreciating your ongoing support. If you're looking to know more about the Unearthed Man, then you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Now, let's get on to today's episode. My first interaction with today's guest was during Sam Lewis's 6-week Initiation to Self meditation course. I took an immediate liking to him, as I found him to be very witty, yet quite logical at the same time. Throughout the course, he was extremely inquisitive and was quite intuitive when it came to the deeper meaning of the meditation practice that we were being taught. It's also included inquiring into how the 7 universal laws worked and how we could be aware of them as we move through our day-to-day lives. This man coined the 5 S's as part of the course, which we'll discuss more of as we delve into the chat today. So without further ado, welcome to the Unearthed Man podcast, Andy Wang. Hey, Andy.
Milvo, thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, mate, it's a great pleasure. As I said there in the intro, there was something you just brought life into that course. There was, just the way you inquired, but you actually had that almost humorous inquiry on the way through, and and how you worked through it. It was very refreshing to jump onto the Marco Polos and see what Andy was bringing to the table on any given day. It was awesome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I think having your interaction in the Marco Polos and other people interacting, it definitely helped. Naturally, I'm quite introverted. I'm an only child. So when it comes to social stuff like that, it's strange. I normally don't really get involved. I'm just too busy in my own world. I'm either trying to improve my health and fitness or working on the business. I don't find I'm posting on social a lot, but in that course, I found I spent a lot more time contributing and investing into it than I thought I would. I thought I'd really literally be in there, get the lessons I was after, and that's it. So it surprised me too, to be honest. And I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, and it was all, and I could see on the way through that for you, there seemed to be that little bit of that. Definitely a very logical guy, right? An accountant by trade, so there's some logic that runs with that. And this question now, I'm the same, right? I'm a project manager by trade, so we have to be logical people on how we operate. But this question, all the logic, because some of the stuff that we were learning from Sam, you couldn't grasp with your logical mind. And so you had to actually move out of your head all the time and drop into the heart and try to feel through it. So how did you go through that process? Was that also why you felt there's a lot more interaction, because there was just so many questions were coming up?
The process itself, what's interesting is I've done a few sort of personal development things, and I had a conversation with a friend who I would normally do these with, and in the day-to-day, I'm definitely less emotional, for lack of a better word, okay, than he is, and I find it easier to remove that out of things and try and make a decision from a place of, okay, what is A, B, C, D, E?
Yep.
But when it comes to personal development stuff, and he pointed this out for me, is I seem to find it easier to just trust the process.
Yeah.
So there is a level of, okay, the logic is here, but okay, brain, you're backseating right now. Let's just trust this. And this could sound absolutely just batshit insane. And that's okay. Let's trust the process we've invested. So yes. With Sam's course, I've had experiences with Sam before, and I trust him completely. That's why I ended up signing on. But with the meditation itself, I knew that wasn't something my brain could ever comprehend.
Yeah.
So when we sat in meditation, I just literally thought, okay, you know what? I'm not going to try and understand how this works. It does what it will do what it will do, and I'll just go with it. And I found that quite liberating.
Okay.
even with meditation itself, when people have asked me, hey, Andy, this is even before Sam's thing, why do you meditate? My answer has been, honestly, I don't know. I can't logically tell you what it does for me. I know scientifically, they say it does X, Y, Z. I've never looked into any of that. All I know is when I meditate for a consistent period of time, things feel lighter and it feels like I can handle so much more. And
Yes.
when I stop meditating after a period of time, it feels like I can handle so much less. It's not a on and off switch. It's a cumulative thing. So I took that mindset into the initiation back to self course, where I thought, you know what, I don't know what this is going to give me, but I'm sure it will be amazing, and it can't hurt.
Correct. It was interesting on the way through. There's a couple of things I want to come back to you on that you just mentioned there, but it was interesting on the way through. I think those of us who got it and aligned to it and to a degree surrendered to it by following Sam's beautiful process on the way through, and those who didn't, there was always those trying to play catch up, and those who, were trying to do 2 lessons, try to go back to Zoom calls and do 2 lessons. And they seem to struggle with it. So I think I agree on that point about, sometimes just surrendering to the fact that trusting that Sam knows the process, and trusting that if you go step by step through this process, you will land where you're meant to land at the end. And I think, that's a lot what I took out of it as well. Just being able to go on that process, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah. And I've always found when we make the decision and commitment to go into a course or a workshop or whatever it is for ourselves, the least we can do is respect ourselves enough to set aside the time for that, right? Because the reason why we've invested into it is because, we've got 24 hours in a day. Life will always come in and just take time out with whether it's colleagues, team members, clients, family, partner. Life will come in and want time from you. And unless we carve that aside, we don't really get it. And I found committing to that was my way of carving that aside and saying, okay, I have to do this. And it wasn't a tick box thing. Like, if I missed the first 3 lessons, I can't go back and tick the 3 lessons off in the one day. It's not a tick box thing where by the end you say, yay, all complete. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, correct. So where are you at now? Are you still, how much, like, are you still, because you were saying you do a meditation before. I think Sam's style of meditation was a variation to what we both knew before. So how's that sitting with you now in relation to a practice? Have you been regular? Have you still trying to build it in? What does that look like for you?
So I solely do Sam style meditation now. I found the main reasons because what I did before as meditation, honestly, no one taught it to me. I sort of watched a few YouTube videos and read a few books, and I just sat there and focused on my breathing. So there was no rhyme or reason to it. Sam gave me a structure, and I know this sounds a bit of a paradox where you're not meant to do anything in meditation, but Sam style gave me something to do, and I hope I'm not butchering the truth of what he's teaching there, but there is a process to follow.
Yes.
And that made it, on one hand, that does make it easier, but also it is in itself quite challenging as well. So it's this real weird contradiction where while I could be seen as doing something, my brain still wonders, and I'm still having to bring it back and focus the energy. So on that note, I find that it helps me sit there for longer rather than just focusing on the breathing. And the result of it, there's always a moment where I know, okay, I'm where I need to be in the heart space, right? Yep. So I do actually continue it. I would love to say every day, but it's not at the moment. It's probably 5 to 6 times a week.
Okay.
So
that's pretty good though.
Mainly weekdays. I just find it as part of my morning routine. Weekends, that probably goes out the window a little bit when I wake up a bit later and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. The last couple of weeks I've dropped off, hadn't been doing it, but yeah, before that we were definitely 4 to 5 times a week, the 5 S's, and then weekends becomes the 4 S's.
Yeah.
Actually, let's go on that one. So part of what Sam built into us was also to help with a morning routine. And you were working again, your logical brain go, how do I actually remember this? And you were sitting in your car and you go, like, let me work my way through this. What's the order of this? So can you run me now through what the how we define the 5 S's as a nice little routine for us to run with?
It's interesting the act of me creating it helped me remember it, so I never had to use it again, which is quite interesting. So I'll see if I do remember it. But this is the order I do things in. I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do is scrub. So I scrub my teeth or scrape my tongue. I sort of combine the two in the one. So scrub, scrape. Then I sip. I sip water. So when I say sip, it's more of chug. I chug a liter of water. And then after that, I shit.
Yeah,
I need to pass that bowel movement in the morning. I'm a very regular morning person. Then I shower, and once I'm showered, I do the cold rinse, and then I sit, and that's sitting for meditation. So it's scrape, sip, shit, shower, sit.
Beautiful. And to be honest, I remember that all the time. Like that is just, and depending on what I've eaten the night before, so the order might change around a bit. Sometimes I need to shit before I can sit because, like I can't put a liter of water in my belly and then try to juggle things around. But yeah, no, it's, I love the fact you did it because it's the same thing. It's things like, how do you remember the colors of the rainbow? Like it's, Vib Gior or Roy Gabib, right?
Vib, yeah.
Yeah, people went with one or the other, right? As soon as you put down a bit of a routine. So that's cool. In relation, let's get back to, you were saying that you like the fact that there's a structure to the meditation. And I love that as well. That's what we got taught. When you're doing it, are you going back and listening to the Zoom call sort of going through, or are you now remembering what that structure was and then you're just actually sitting and do you have music in the background? What's that sort of hour look like for you?
Mine's always sitting more about half an hour to 45 minutes, I've found. And it's been consistently in that time range. Even when I don't put on a time, I seem to be complete by about 45 minutes. I haven't revisited a Zoom call at all. And it's been something where there's been a few times where I thought, it'd be good to do that. I haven't actually committed myself to it. I feel like I did remember the order of things, but who knows, when I revisit the Zoom call, I might notice, oh my God, I completely forgot about, so-and-so. So normally I find relaxing, once I've sat, I always like to start my meditation with 3 big sighs, and that's just me just releasing whatever it might be caught up in me, and it's relaxing the whole body. Then I start focusing on bringing the ears together.
Yep.
And that normally takes a bit of time on its own. And some days when it happens a bit quicker, I do find it's harder to get into the heart space. So I like to spend a bit of time trying to bring the ears together. And as soon as the ears comes together, I follow that down into my heart space and I start the inquiry of who am I?
Yep.
And when I'm going into the heart space, I go into, first of all, I imagine I'm going through a tunnel or a cave. It's normally very narrow and a bit claustrophobic and things feel tight. And what would normally happen is if I keep following that, at some point things will just feel more spacious. And that lets me know I'm in the cave section of the heart. And when I'm in that space, there's normally still a bit of tightness or something just locked up. And that's me identifying the knot or a padlock or a locked door. It changes. It's never the same all the time. How this looks always changes for me, but it's still the symbolism of a cave, something locked up. And then that's what I start working on. And I pulse my perineum if need be. And when that opens up, it's just, I sort of see it as me sort of just lowering myself into a sauna bath, but it's just a sauna bath of light, and then everything becomes light. And that's when I'm just sitting there and it's wonderful, and it's just spacious, light, no problems or no thoughts. And if my mind does wander, I do the whole, to whom are these thoughts occurring to? So that's the rough journey of how I approach it.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I actually found the music that Sam had playing in the background. So I've effectively grabbed the three songs. So the first one I got off YouTube, and the other two I got the songs. So it's actually 55 minutes. So yeah, I follow the process that John took us through.
Okay, yeah.
Because I always struggled.
That's the one who goes into the solar plexus, where he starts there.
Correct. That's right. And start to love the people around you. So bring the people in around you, then bring in your suburb and bring in the country and everything else. And so, I just sort of, and the chant one I find is really good because it's a repetitive chant, but it basically has a bit of a ding. So it's like, first ding. Okay. Now move into this one. Now do that one. And so I slowly allow that process to take place. And again, I don't rush into it. The interesting thing for me with the music is when I first start, it's all in my headphones and it's up in my head. And with that chant, there's actually birds and everything else in the background. I know I've dropped down into my heart space where it feels that there's a speaker coming out from my solar plexus.
Oh, wow.
So when I'm actually listening, it's like I'm listening, like the sound is no longer in my head. The sound's actually coming out of my solar plexus. And so it's like everything that's happened. So my perineum, and even when I'm squeezing the perineum, it's actually feels like it's being squeezed from the solar plexus, and the music's coming from the same space. And it's at that point where I can hear the sound and I can hear the birds that I go, cool, I've now landed exactly in the heart space where I need to be. And then from there, I just, that's when I completely release. And it's just beautiful. And then I just let go and I allow whatever. I don't allow thoughts, but I allow wherever that vision then takes me. So it's taken me to edges of cliffs. It's taken me, flying across valleys. It's just taking me to wherever it wanted to go. And then if that thought or whatever happened disappears, then I just go on to the next one. And next thing, and it's good because you get to the end, there's a variation of a chant. And then I use his feminine song and the last chant to do the abundance piece. So I come sort of out of it, but then spend that last 10 minutes sort of then doing the vibrational piece. So it's I'm really loving it.
Did you say you have those, you found those, you put them together on YouTube, or are they on Spotify or something?
I've got them on a playlist on Apple. I'll see if I can get them to you.
Yeah, if you could share the name of the songs, because I'm not using no music or anything. There, but it's mainly because I didn't get around to finding the song, so I thought, that's fine, I'll just sit there. But I remember I enjoyed having that music there. Absolutely, would be keen to give that a go. The interesting thing is how different it looks for everyone. The whole process of things, because on those Marco Polos, with what everyone else is sharing, it sounded like everyone had a different experience, and it looks a bit different for everyone.
Yeah, which makes sense because we are different. We've had different backgrounds and how we go from it. I think one of the coolest experiences I've had is outside the window. There's a set of trees and there's these little beautiful, I think there's like a little green finch keeps coming and going. And I've been working at how to connect. And one of the experiences was when I got into that heart space and I dropped into that, I actually I saw the birds in the trees, but I realized I was the trees. Like like the bird was like, it was me, like I was the tree that the bird was nesting in. And I'm like, oh, that was really cool. That was that whole I am connected to everything experience. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, well, geez, I'd like to get that one back again. Some you drop and go, well, that was great.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I hear you. Sometimes I wake up out of it and I think, Christ, I went places, right?
yeah,
And I try my best not to want to go back again, because I know the more I try to want to go back again, the further it slips away.
yeah, that's right. Correct. Yeah. It's an awesome experience. I had an experience when I was doing it. My wife had actually got off the bed because she would do it on the same bed beside us. She'd actually got off the bed and gone off and done something and come back. And it was only when she came back that I got disturbed. And I thought she was moving. And she's like, no, I've been up and back and moving around. I'm like, so that's how just totally zoned in that I didn't even know that she was actually moving around the bedroom and everything else. So I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I like it when you can get that deep into something that you're just so closed off to anything else. So it's cool.
Absolutely.
So let's go back into another sort of space, or it's along a similar theme. Accounting. So you got your own company, and I think prior to that, I know you worked in a corporate environment or so forth. How do you go about working your way through being on a spiritual self-development journey and the world of corporate? That is, for me, there's still a lot of people wearing barriers, masks, unaware, so not willing to move into that world of vulnerability. How have you found that challenge in how you operate, and how do you navigate through that for anyone else that's in the corporate world who's listening in on this?
Currently, it's different because with my own business, I can set the culture.
Yep.
And the team members I hire and what my relationships look like with them, I can set the tone for that. So it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because they say a fish rots from its head. I don't know what the positive version of that saying is, but basically, if I set it from from me being the head of it, if I set it, the culture will trickle through the rest of the business.
Okay. Yeah.
So I found that hasn't been too much of a challenge in terms of internally. We operate really transparently, and we really promote that our team members do look after themselves, and we've got things like a wellness allowance where, if you want to learn about personal growth or meditation, or you want to buy products like a yoga mat or whatever you would like to do, we're all for that. We've got an Audible subscription for our team where, hey,
wow,
go for it. Just read, listen to as many books as you'd like. And as long as it's growth and improvement driven, we're going to back you, right? And that's my business partner and I, we're both really interested in that space.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier with the team. With clients, I try my best to only work with clients I really connect with.
Okay.
So, and I want to say it was hard from the start when I first started the business to make that choice, but honestly, it wasn't. I didn't feel it was that hard. I never felt that desperation to have to take on anyone if people just weren't the right fit.
Yeah.
It felt okay just to not take that relationship any further. And maybe there was a bit of luck there where people who weren't the right fit didn't end up signing on with me either.
Yeah.
So with clients, I've been quite lucky, and there's a lot of, if not all my clients, I'd have dinner with them and I'd, have some banter, have a chat. And of course, there's always challenges, but I don't really see that as whether it's spiritual or professional. There's always going to be challenges in business. It's how we show up, which is, which reflects, are we coming from a corporate wall point of view, or are we coming from this from a human point of view? And I try my best to come from a human point of view in my interactions. Now, that with that being said, the last few months I've probably haven't been at my best with that because of just the cumulative, what do you call it? Cumulative sort of build up of everything else. And even this conversation now, thank you for bringing that up. It's a reminder for me to reflect and say, okay, I don't like that. I'm sort of, there's a bit of that corporateness coming back up. How do I reintroduce the human into it?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I understand that because I think that's, globally there's an energy that I think if you're tapped into energy and I believe you are, that, there's that, it's easy for us to build up a wall because we're feeling there's that negative energy that we don't want to have to actually walk into or deal with because of globally. I think there's just that out there. And I think that's very challenging to navigate through. And to a degree, we're probably putting up our own protective forces to almost negate a negative universal energy at this point in time. Now, I believe that will change and it'll shift. But I think there's a bit of challenge in that space as well, which I'm actually finding slightly fatiguing because I was talking to a friend the other day about it, and he's saying, there's this subconscious like little chipping away thing that's happening to us, and I believe that's that negative energy that's just sitting against us, and we're trying to hold off and go, come on, we'll get through this. But after a while, it does keep chipping away.
That's probably a good way to put it, the chipping away. So I think I was looking at it from a cumulative building up of, but it's the same sort of chipping away at the reserves of stores, and it almost feels like, I'm doing my best to try and handle my shit, right, and handle all of this. And it's wanting more, and it's okay. I know I can handle this, but it's feeling heavy. It's feeling heavier, and that's when the defense mechanisms and the barriers start popping up.
Yeah, absolutely.
For when I was working in a corporate environment, me now is very different to me then. I only maybe got into personal development a little bit, so I probably wasn't as aware of hey, there's this corporate barrier, and then there's this real, you can do the human approach to business. But even that being said, I still recall that I wasn't fully, bought into the whole I have to act a certain way. Yeah. I did very much like that corporate image and lifestyle, but I just found I definitely didn't fit in with all the corporate speaking people.
Yes. Yeah.
And the thing which really helped there was knowing that it was running my own race. That's the thing which actually really helped. And the other one is knowing that I would actually have my own business sooner or later. So it wasn't like, hey, I have to fit in this world. I'm here because this is where I am right now. But I know that having my own business there's no other option.
Yeah.
There was no other option. And in my head, not having this, it doesn't exist.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And I think the thing about that is that you've clearly called that in, and that's where you've landed. I think before we started this interview, because I operate in the corporate world, and as I was saying, now where I'm at, I without being disrespectful, but I feel like I'm a corporate monk because you've got this this corporate world of dog eat dog, politics, climb over the top of people, and in there you're just sort of you're just being present and you're being aware and you can see what's actually happening, but you're not trying to be judgmental about anybody. It's like if something doesn't work, then it's not the person. It's maybe there's a process that's broken, and you're operating on this different space. And it does make it challenging because, you want people to say, no, come over here. Like look from this side of the window is actually really cool. Like, seriously, like just jump over because your life is going to be so much simpler. All that stress you're carrying, you don't have to carry anymore. All that worry, all that anxiety, you don't need it anymore. Like you can still be great at your job, but you don't have to carry that burden. Like come over the fence, like come and join me. But it's an interesting dichotomy to operate in, I think.
I've always wondered how I would show up if I walked back into that world. It's always been an interesting thought experiment in my mind. Who knows? maybe 20 years down the track, I've gotten the whole business thing out of my system, or I find, what, I'm up for a new challenge. I end up doing it again. Who knows?
Time to be a corporate CFO or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's take a step back. You've touched a few times on your self-development journey. Did you do Man Cave? Did I sort of hear a whisper somewhere along the line that you did that? But without sort of getting that, but what's your journey look like from that self-development, and and how did you find Man Cave?
It actually all started maybe 5-6 years ago, where I don't even know how I came across this, but Alexi and Preston, they had a course called the Bridge Experience.
Yep. Yes.
It was like a weekend thing, and I think they didn't do many in Adelaide, but I just saw it somewhere. And here's a strange thing, but they always said they don't do Facebook advertising, so I have no idea where I saw it. None of my friends was into this, so it couldn't have been from them. I feel like I saw it on Facebook, but the thing is, at that time, I didn't. If my friends list looks really different, I didn't have all these self-development people I've met since on there.
Yes.
So I have no idea where I would have seen this. All I remember, I don't even remember the ad. All I remember was seeing there's something about personal development. And I thought, yeah, you know what? I'll click on it, right? And I clicked on it, and I thought, I've got no idea what this is about. It's only $500 or whatever it was at the time. Yeah, that's pretty cheap. Worst case, I just spent $500. That's fine. Yep. I clicked on it and signed up, and that cascaded the journey into everything else. So off the back of that, did integrate, and then just in between, I was always driven by what I felt I was lacking. Right. So off the back of the Bridge, I've realized, from a self-confidence point of view, and feeling grounded and less anxious was something I was really after.
Yep.
And it did help me. It pointed me in the direction of where I needed to go. It helped unmask a few things which I had to work with.
Yeah. Okay.
And through that, it helped me face off with past traumatic issues from a childhood. It brought up it was almost like the first, imagine with, each course or each workshop or each coaching session that I've done is a shovel just digging, and each sort of stroke of the shovel, it's unearthing more things.
Welcome to the Unearthed Man, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what this is about. Yeah. So I know where you go. Keep going.
Yeah. So I found that it was something where the more I looked into it and dug, it gave me, each time I did it, it gave me something to work with. And I'd go away and I'd have to work on that thing, whether it's relationship with my mum, whether it's a relationship with my dad, whether it's a relationship with myself as well, and my ego, how I'm showing up. Every time it just unearthed more things. I've done a few of those things. The ones which have jumped out and made the biggest impact. So the first Bridge.
Yes.
Because that was my very first experience into it. The second one was Bridge Extreme, which really highlighted to me where I was hiding and where I wasn't showing up. And I've had this recurring theme in my life where my partner, she says that I am a great leader, but I'm the most hesitant, reluctant leader, in the sense that I won't step up to lead, or this was my pattern. I'm in the process of breaking it, but I wouldn't step up to lead because it meant more work and I was just too lazy for it, and someone else will do it. But if I'm sitting on the sidelines and it looks like it's a shit show, I feel compelled to just be. I would literally think, oh my God, okay, fuck it, I've got to do something here. So I would be the most reluctant leader, right?
Yes.
It's almost like if you had a circle of people, and someone asked, hey, so who's going to lead this thing? If no one else puts their hand up, I feel obligated to literally say, okay, guys, I'll do it. And that's what Bridge Extreme was like for me. I somehow by default ended up doing a lot more than I had initially gone there for. That was another pivotal event. Another one is I sat some plant medicine as well with another coach, and that was very life-changing. It brought up a lot of things which it's a mirror which shows us what we need to be working on. And then probably the most recent two things which have made a huge impact is Unleash the Beast, which is almost like a follow-on from Man Cave. I found Man Cave was good. It definitely wasn't something which stuck with me.
Yes.
But Unleash the Beast definitely was, because I felt this craving to feel just more in my body, more masculine. I wanted to be surrounded by masculine energy, and I wanted to feel that tribal, that savageness in me again. I wanted to feel that again, and Unleash the Beast really, really, really did that for me. Because personal development, I found there's always lots of feminine energy involved. There's lots of nurturing and caring, and it's all beautiful. But I remember I got to this point, and I was speaking to a friend, and we had this conversation. I said, I love personal development. I love all this feminine nurturing energy because I have needed it to heal or begin the healing process of my inner child, right?
Yes.
But Andy that, had, experienced emotional and physical abuse and all that sort of stuff. But, I was having this chat with my friend. I said, but man, I just want to just grunt and work out and just wrestle or just do something manly. I've had, my cup for the nurturing is done now. I just want to just power through some shit.
Yes.
Right. And that's what Unleash the Beast really did. I really liked that. And then the last one was Sam's thing, where it's changed how I meditate. I haven't meditated, not his way, not the way that he's taught us, not his way, sorry, not the way that he's taught us since. I've only meditated the way he's taught us.
Yeah, awesome. I did Unleash the Beast last year, so I know exactly what you mean for Unleash the Beast, which basically flipped me the 180 degrees. Like, I just knew my wife did Bridge and Extreme. So, and it was while she was in between she signed up to Bridge, realized that she had to keep going. So we signed her up next weekend to do Extreme.
Wow.
And it was in between that we're like, fuck, they're running this Unleash the Beast thing. Like, I'm in. So we actually traveled from Melbourne to Brisbane 3 weekends in a row.
Wow.
Just flew up there 3 weekends in a row, got the accommodation and just went. And I remember walking out of Unleash the Beast, and I know what you mean, like that, but through the breathwork practice, like the change, like changed my life, absolutely changed my life. Like, I was an angry guy, and I actually felt, as I was said a few times on this podcast, the demon of anger physically left my body. I actually watched it physically get up and leave, and I'm just yelling, screaming, get the fuck out, just get the fuck out. Like, I'm screaming this thing, and it said, all right, I'm out, and it left. And I'd never been so peaceful since. And it was just, I still get frustrated, but the level of anger I had is just gone. And it was just such an amazing experience. So I know exactly where you are. And then I worked with Blaze and Glenn. So then we did pretty much worked with them for the next 6 months, just doing, other courses, Warriors Way and then King's Court we sort of did after the back of that. So, and that's led to here.
Amazing. So, I have a lot of time for Blaze and Glenn as well. Yeah. I ended up going on a Blaze for a period, did I can't remember what it was called, but literally he got a group of guys took us up to where he is, and he just showed us around the area. We, went and ate at a few places, took us out to the beaches and stuff, and went kayaking and surfing
beautiful.
and stuff. Yeah, it was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, so Sess, Blaze, Glenn, Sam. I've had some interactions with Bam, so Brendan Durrell as well. So yeah, so all those guys are just awesome. So yeah, it's good connecting, and that's why I love doing this. Or you end up with these connections, with people on same paths, and and just journeying along now, with a level of complete awareness, which is beautiful.
From what I'm hearing, and it's, I don't want to project onto you, but it feels like you're in the similar space where and you're exposed to these people from this one side of life, right? And they're deep in that one side of life. But because you're exposed to them and you've spent time with them, you can play in that world and you get the benefits from that world. But then you're also exposed to this other side of life, which is the go, the corporate, the more material aspects of life. And that's not necessarily bad. And you are getting exposed to that, and you are getting the benefits, the trials and the challenges from that too. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I've oftentimes reflected when I don't spend much time on social media at all, but when I look at my sort of friends list on Facebook, it's this mishmash of two camps of people who would never, one side would think the other is completely batshit crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm so happy that I'm sort of sitting in this middle ground, and I say, I can totally get the whole energy thing. Maybe I can't see auras myself, but you know what? I can totally get it because, of certain experiences. And on the other side, it's, okay, well, I know I still want to build and create. And I can't, I don't want to say I can't, but I don't know if right now sitting with flow and just, in a camper van or being a bit nomad, whatever it is, it just doesn't, it's not who I am right now. I enjoy that building and creating. So I'm happy to have both those, contributions in life. It's amazing.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's not a projection. It's a really good reflection, and that's exactly where I sit. I wrote this, the letters to yourself, the future, and it may come true. And I said at the end of next year, I'm going to be out of the corporate game. I'm going to be running my coaching business, and Unearthed Man's going to take off, and this is going to fly. But the more I sit with it, it's like, no, I can actually. I love that. The project. I love the adrenaline that comes from those projects. I get to meet these wonderful, amazing people that I get to, create friendships with. And interestingly, I'm actually comfortable to create friendships with people I work with. Before I'm like, that's work. This is me. And, they should never. And I'm comfortable even putting up some views and challenging people, now, whereas before I thought, what's their opinion going to be of me? So the more I'm very dropping into me and who I am, it's like, you either like me or if you don't. And if you don't like me, then to be honest, it means you don't know me. You don't know the true me. And I'm comfortable with the true me who I'm becoming. So I'm almost happy to go. I'm happy to keep operating in this world because it's actually fun and I can enjoy my life. And over here, if you're going to tell me you've seen aliens from a spaceship, I'm going to believe you because I think it's out there. Right. So what's actually happened is, and I think on Unleashed, they talked about the fact that, they'll just put a crack into it, and they'll open up this other world. And I'm like, I'm fully open. Anybody could tell me anything. And I'm like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, that's like 12 months ago, I'm like, yeah, fuck off, crazy man. Conspiracy theorists and all this. But now I'm like, yeah, probably. That's true.
The deeper down this rabbit hole I go, the more certain I am that I realize there's a lot I don't know. And correct. I can't logic my way through some of the experiences I've had. Whether it's maybe this thing got released, this chemical got released in your brain, and this happened, and it's just a random, yes, potentially, but then the result of it which caused me to go and face up with certain true memories which I forgot I had. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I just don't know anymore. And I'm very okay with that. Right.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've gone from opinion and judgment to inquiry and just openness, right? And I love it. I'm like, oh, tell me more about this. Like, what did the dude look like in the spaceship? Like, that's really interesting. Like, tell me that vision that you've had. Now, whether that was just, again, a vision or whether it was a reality, it actually doesn't matter because it's true to those people. And I support them in their truth. And I think that's the whole thing about that, start of COVID, I was smashing away. This is bullshit. This is crap. You guys over there, and I'm getting smashed back, and you're getting all personal about it. And then now I'm like, let's. All parties are probably coming from a level of fear, and I was talking to my wife yesterday going, the people who are supportive of all the lockdown and everything else are coming from a level of fear. The people who are, they're going to put microchips into us and we're all going to be robots and all these sorts of things, they're just coming from a different fear. It's still fear. They're still afraid that they're going to lose their personal freedom and they're going to be a robot and microchipped and completely vaccinated and, and disease-ridden and everything else. It's just a variation of fear.
Yeah.
But both of them think that the other one's crazy. And I'm like, you're both just afraid, and that's okay. I support you in your level of fear. It's a strange world to navigate in, but I'm loving it because I challenge myself all the time on it.
I often wonder, and I haven't sat with this though, is whether me not engaging in that is either because I don't want to say above it, either because I'm seeing it, I'm detached from it, or I'm just too caught up in my own what I want to create. I don't have the brain power to invest in that because it means that's less brain power to keep creating and working on what I'm trying to work on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if part of it's just complete ignorance or actually a choice of I'm not engaging in this. Do you know what I mean? It could just be because, oh my God, I haven't checked social for 3, 4, 5 days because I've just been too busy. And it could just be total ignorance. Because there's times where there is stuff on the news and my partner, she keeps up to date with what gets announced. And then she says, oh, haven't you heard this happened? And I was like, nope, I have no idea. Do you know what I mean? And she's saying, you live under a rock. What's wrong with you?
So I'm a supporter of ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Because I don't read newspapers.
No.
I don't watch the news. I flick through some social media, but part of my social media is I'm part of 2 guys groups. One's Blokes United and one's Victorian Brotherhood. And there's a lot of pain. And so I chip in to say, how can I help those men relieve their pain? So I try to drop in, hey, this is your ego. Hey, this isn't real. Hey, think about this and do these sorts of things. That's more where I'm dropping in to try and help these people, where I can to have some relief so that, and it's just an aside, probably once a week on either of these sites, there is someone who's suicided. And so I'm trying to stay, again, not ignorance is bliss, but try to not wear that pain, but be aware that pain is existing and it's out there. And if that message got to the right person at the right time and they're like, I'm going to hang on an extra day, then, that's for me, that's what it's about. But that's my only reason for sort of being in there. But yeah, I'm the same. The rest of it's like someone goes, oh, we had 2 cases. When? Did we? I wouldn't even know where we're at anymore in this bizarre world. All I knew is I could go for a restaurant and have something to eat. And that was great.
I'm going to say that's the one thing I missed the most when we had our short period of lockdown was food, enjoying different foods. There's only so much you can cook at home. I can't make a Korean barbecue at home, for example. I can't have, I'm being Chinese, I love all these different Asian foods, and I can't have Chinese hot pot at home. We don't have the stuff. So they're the things I missed the most.
Yes.
It was the food. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty introverted and I need to recharge after too much social interaction. So the socializing side of things wasn't too much of a issue. It was more so the tasty things I couldn't put into my mouth.
No, I am with you. Like, I am so with you on that. And like in my family, some members have a limited, like, I'll eat anything. Like, we're vegetarian, but I'll eat any cuisine vegetarian. But some are a bit more limited. So, there's only so much pizza and pasta and, the occasional bit of Mexican that we can have in the house. I'm like, come on, can we at least get out to like these all these other restaurants?
Yeah.
Like Vietnamese food and Chinese food and, like, keep picking it. It's beautiful food. Malaysian, let's get out there and try all these other flavors. So it's pretty cool.
On that note, Milva, would love to ask you a question.
Yeah, sure.
And this is something which I've not a model, but just a template which I've sort of used to really remind me of who I am or who I'm choosing to be right now. And it's the notion of this, that in this world there's buckets of people, and I know people are complex and that they fall into multiple categories, but oftentimes there's one category which they really seem to, they're drawn towards. And from what I can see so far, there's people who are experiencers. These are the people who they want to be. They travel the world to experience stuff, and they do things because of the experience of it, right? Then there's helpers who genuinely just, it's the helping of people. It's how can I give? How can I contribute? How can I make a difference? And they're the people who make, it's not about the money to save the oceans. It's about, we need to save the oceans, and they're really all in on that. Then there's builders or creators, which is probably a lot of the corporate world where, the people starting the companies where they just have this inkling, they need to create this thing. It's on their hearts, they need to create it, right? It's not about experiencing a country, or it's not about saving the world. I just want to create this thing because I'm a creator and builder at heart. Yeah. And I've oftentimes thought about, okay, and look, we all have each of those three aspects, but there's one which normally that just sticks with us. And I've often thought about the question when I speak to people and they've said, oh yeah, always take a gap year before you start uni or before you start work to experience the world, and buy experiences, not things, and travel, and don't work so hard because you're going to be 50 or 60 and you're going to regret it, or all that sort of stuff. And it was having this opposite effect on me, where I was feeling like, I feel like should I be feeling like I'm missing out by not doing all these things? And not to say I haven't gone traveling or things like that, but when I've gone and come back, every time it's just made me realize, no, I like what I like what I'm doing. And it actually did cause me a bit of pain in self-reflection, being forced to look at, well, hang on, everyone's saying happiness is that, which is the whole, which is the opposite of what it was for me. And I was really feeling like, oh, maybe I've got it wrong, because I'm liking the grind and building and putting energy towards this thing and, sacrificing things, and I get a kick out of it. And it took me ages to really be comfortable with knowing, okay, yes, all that stuff is great, and it could be fulfillment and happiness for a certain group of people, and then you have the other group of people who get that fulfillment and happiness by helping others, and each of them are trying to say, hang on, this is the right thing. And it really helped me cement, no, there's this third bucket. I just want to create and build.
Yep.
Right. And it took me ages to really feel comfortable with, okay, that's them, this is me, so on. So my question to you, in a longest question kind of way, is
in an Andy Wang kind of
way is, what do you feel like you are? Which draws you to it the most from a fulfillment and happiness point of view?
Yeah, cracking question. As you were going through those three, I'm a creator. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, which when I was thought about earlier about, do I give up the project management stuff and do I do that to head off in this world of coaching and to be of complete service and everything else? The more I think about that, I'm like, it doesn't sit with me. Like, I want to do it. I love doing the pod, I love doing the podcast because I get to chat with a man every week, and that's just awesome. And we have these beautiful conversations I would never have, which I'm loving. But this is creating, right? It's creating content. It's creating discussion. It's creating thought-provoking ideas. By putting it out there, it becomes a service to others. Right. So the output is there is that, but the actual real thing is I've just loved the process of creating a podcast, of learning how to do it. It's something new. I had to work out how to do GarageBand. And so, I when people interview me, not that I get very interviewed these days, I've built up a good enough reputation in the world I operate from ITs to be meant to just say, come over here and work for us. But if they did ever ask the question, it's like, I work on projects that no one's ever done before. Like, as in, this is the first time. So we've got to work it out from scratch. Or this is so broken, we have to be so creative to work out how to fix it. That's where I specialize in.
I love it.
And it's either startup or badly broken. I don't sit in the middle because that's boring. And as soon as we get to the end of a project and what we call in hypercare, in other words, fixing all the things that went wrong when we went live, I'm so bored for 3 months because that's just business as usual stuff. Move me on to the next new big exciting thing. So I'm comfortable to sit in that creative space.
Yeah.
Having said that, what I've learned along the way is I switch on at 20 past 8 in the morning in work mode, and I switch off sometimes a little bit later, but most times no later than 6. And then when I leave my work mode, I'm completely present in the next mode. So, and when I go on holidays, I delete whichever company I'm working for, I delete their email off my phone. I'm out for 2 or 3 weeks. And when I'm there for that 2 or 3 weeks, I'm on holidays for 2 or 3 weeks. And so I'm completely immersed in that experience. And then I can come back again.
Yes.
And so that's what I've learned to be able to do. That my normal operating mode for, 40 odd weeks, 50 weeks of the year is do, go, create, and do that. But along the way, if I'm providing service, if I'm being a good person, if I'm not being harming to anybody, everything we do, we try to buy sustainable clothing now. We try to buy, we buy organic foods, so everything I do, I try to be a world citizen, if you like, so I try to be environmentally aware in how I operate. And if I can do that along the way, then that's supporting what we can actually do. So that's probably where I sit as well. And I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
To pick up on one of the other points, I haven't hit my 50s and gone, there's an interesting, because I'm in my 50s. So, I think, there's a bit of an age gap. And I can pick that because you go, when someone gets to their 50s or 60s, that's a funny statement. So I'm sort of there, right? So I'm in the next 10 years about what does that look like? But everyone's going, so for me, I'm never going to use the word retirement.
No, neither.
Because it's such a bad, all I'm going to do is I might become running my own self-managed stock stuff, or it'll be something else I'll be doing. It'll be something else I'll be creating. It'll be something else I'll be working on. I just love doing stuff.
Yeah. 100%, right? And it's that, and that's why I wanted to ask, because I was still thinking, you were talking about the coaching stuff, but the fact that you were still in the corporate world and you're finding your groove in there. I'm thinking, I'm wondering if it is if there's that creation aspect which are really drawn to, because I did go through a period where I wanted to be a coach because I saw how much of an impact that it made for me and how much it improved my life. And I thought, geez, how fulfilling would it feel to do this for other people? So I actually took a few courses on teaching me how to help manage those emotions with other people. And after the back of that course, I thought, I think I like the idea of helping people more than having to go through that deep, dark hole with people in terms of my respect for the people who do that went through the roof, right?
Yes.
And I realized, yes, I like to help people, but you know what? I like to create. There's a thing which is, and it would be same for you, right? The solution to whatever is broken they're trying to fix doesn't exist yet. And
Yes.
it's not material, it's just in the ether. And you are pulling these things together and creating this thing with your mind and implementing it, and it becomes real. You're creating from immaterial into material.
Yes.
And as a fellow creator, that gives me so many kicks. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
This thing came out of my brain.
Yeah. Look, I couldn't agree with you more. Like you solve something, you go, oh fuck, how good was that? Fuck, like that was just, and people, and the interesting thing that I find is people come and go, you're awesome. I go, oh no, it's just what I do. Like, but you sometimes have to sit back and go, oh yeah, no, that was super creative. Like that was pretty nifty. Yeah. But the interesting thing on the coaching stuff is, like, there's 3 or 4 people that I'm working with. Effectively, unfunded coaching in the background. 2 or 3 peers who, funny enough, I run a Friday afternoon fat camp. Like, there's a couple of people that are going, we just need your support. And even they're looking at, they're now buying some cacao. They're looking at how they eat. They think about how they think, and they go, you don't understand how much you've influenced us by being you. And so that's all I bring to the table now. And so it's like, if I can bring a different viewpoint to the table and see how you can be operating in a very high stress. I mean, the program I'm working on in totality will spend $650 million. The current release is worth $100 million. There's a lot of money riding on this. If we miss a date, it's going to cost us $40 odd million, right? That's stress. But I could choose but that's artificial stress. And people can choose that to be, oh, I'm holding on this. I'm like, I can't change anything. I can change what I do every day, and I can change how I work with you and how I influence you and how I can encourage you and be the best person you can be. And if you do your job well and I do my job well, then we don't need to be stressed, because it's just going to work out, isn't it? And if for some reason it doesn't work out, but we did our best, then maybe it was never going to work out.
Yeah.
And no one died from it. Yeah. But we had some fun along the way. And
Absolutely.
And that's, so for me, that's the key. So I think you're right. I've been struggling a little bit with that in the last 12 months nearly. But the other aspect for me on the coaching thing is it feels like it's a lot of hard work and a lot of hustle.
Oh, it is. It would be a tremendous amount of hustle. You've really got to want to help people. That's that helping side is you've got to really want to, or maybe maybe a certain creator it's a creationary thing potentially as well. I'm not sure. I didn't look into it too deeply, but what I realized was that wasn't my version of creation.
Yeah. No, I'm the same with you. Yeah. And look, I'm happy to run programs on the side. I'm happy to do little things here and there. I ran one program this year for 3 guys, and they got a lot out of it, and it was awesome. And so did I. It was pre-Sam's course, so it worked out really well. And so, and what I go to that is my daily cold shower every day. I committed to them that I would do a daily cold shower, and now it's still part of my routine, and I love it. So, there's stuff that I learned by doing those things as well, because I'm feeding off others. So I think it's pretty awesome. I'm definitely aware of time, and we've taken up probably a little bit more time than what we've done. You've been very generous. So just to close out, if there's any message to any guy who's going, do I go on this journey? Do I, where am I at? What does it look like? What would be a bit of a wrap up sort of message from Andy Wang about, guys out there and perhaps how to take the next step?
Oh, that's a tough question. That is a tough question. This is just off the cuff. My response is probably super simple. Look at it through the lens of what's the worst that can happen, right?
Yep.
Look at it with a curious mind. Your life looks a certain way now, and if you're sick and tired of it, look into the space. It doesn't mean you need to drop a lot of money into courses or coaches to begin with. Dip your toe in the water, start doing a few reading from a few different places. Everything's on YouTube now, everything's on the internet. At least start kicking off that process. What's the worst that can happen? And approach everything with a curious mind, and also still maintain a little degree of skepticism as well, because everyone's got a different viewpoint, and the worst thing to do is to be all sold into one. Expose yourself to more things.
Beautiful. Yeah. I like it. For off the cuff, that's some very solid wisdom, Andy. So I really appreciate that. That's really cool. So, mate, thank you. I've loved, this is the first time we've probably had a face-to-face chat. It's been really awesome. I've loved getting to know a lot more about you and where you're coming from. So, and I really appreciate how generous you've been with your time today. So thanks, man. Take care. And I definitely look forward to interacting with you a lot more as we move forward.
Thanks, Milbo. Likewise, appreciate it, mate. It's been good to get to know you and hear your journey as well.
Cheers. All right, mate. Take care. Catch you later. Hey, all. That was the amazing Andy Wang. And as you can see, he's a very witty, very humorous, just a pure ball of energy, loving life. And I love how he's getting that beautiful mix between, operating in his business, how he's operating, but leading from above and leading that culture with his organization. So that's pretty much it for me now. As I said earlier, you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So from me to you, it's the Unearthed Man saying farewell and much love and peace.